We're live. We're on the air live.
Cool. His money levels are okay?
You sound good. I haven't even heard you. You.
Me? Here?
You. Yeah,
Hi.
Stuart. You. Hi. Say
How you
hi.
doing?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Good. No, your levels are good. Good to see you. Your backgrounds are so much cooler than mine. We're moving, so literally, there's like mostly like an empty room behind me. I do have a video game though. Check that out. Boom. That's cool. Um, and I had a Picard here having sex with a vampire, but he's gone. Okay, it's true. That's what Picard does when nobody's looking. Um, okay, I'm really, really excited right now, and thanks for the handoff, me and Alexia, to this exclusive interview with the folks behind Trek Yards. Welcome, guys. Introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about where Trek Yards came from.
Well, I'm Captain Foley. I'm the host or co-host and co-creator of Trek Yards. And I'll let Samuel introduce himself right now real quick.
Oh, spoilers. And I'm Samuel, I'm the other co-host of Trek Yards, as obviously sounds like from the intro.
And
Stuart, I can tell you are where are you from, Stuart?
I'm from Ontario, Canada.
And clearly, Samuel, you are from the deep south here in America, or
Texas, born and raised. Yeah,
Texas.
no.
I can tell. No, it's hard to get the accent going after a while. It's really tough to. Where are you, man?
1 hour out of London, so pre-central England.
Where? Just what? Give me the name of the area, the town.
Bedford.
Bedford. Cool.
Any Bedford listeners out there, we love you. Great town, you know.
Very
the
cool.
Funny thing is, I'm in London, Ontario, Canada. So I'm like in London, but not London, England.
Whoa, and a friend of mine lived in Bedford, Massachusetts. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's darn old English imperialism that made us all have the same names.
All this inception, it's your dream. And there's the clues to tell you it's a dream.
That it's my dream. If I wake up, does that mean that only like seconds have passed, or am I going to get confused and will I see Shinzon from Star Trek Nemesis being really cool and badass? Because that's what happens in that. You guys saw clearly Inception. Like, was it cool to see Tom Hardy like running around, like going, "Hey, that's Shinzon. You're awesome, and you're gonna suck his bane, but you were awesome right now."
That's a great summary.
Hey, speaking of Shinzon, tell me about Trek Yards.
Well, I have the scimitar up here. I can't see it's an audio podcast, but the scimitar's up there in my background.
So yeah, for those of you listening at home, there are two amazing backgrounds behind us. Stuart has behind him a various collection of not only Star Trek but Transformers memorabilia behind him. We have a strong connection to Transformers on our show in that one of our frequent cohorts on here and my best friend in the whole world, it was actually the voice of Starscream in Transformers the game. So if you've ever heard the name Daniel Ross, he's out there and he's doing things, and he's huge in the Transformers community. So cool. And then behind Samuel, this is cool. We have a bunch of ships. It's a giant. Is it a poster? Is it?
Oh, each individual.
So it's a bunch of so you should see it's him, and behind him it looked like there was some kind of like Art Deco just lines because he's a little box on my screen as we were recording. And then whenever he gets big on the screen, I can't pay attention to anything that's going on because I'm like, oh my gosh, there are ships everywhere behind it. So where did you get? What is that? How did you make that?
This is the new background because as Doug Drexler said, get a new background. Because until then, now all the show's been very white background, but this is the new background, and it's just original 3D renders of every single ship I could think of, and pretty much every single ship you could think of, printed out, high res, whatever, and just stuck on the back of the wall, and it's just my entire wallpaper background. It's just too many ships. This was a bit of a long.
If you've seen any of our older Trek Yards episodes, his old background was just like a leather couch, so it was the typical casting couch.
Thanks, man.
That was always the running joke. I mean, if you're going to watch Trek Yard, you're going to see that, so I got to point that out.
Now, are there people on the casting couch doing what you would do on a casting couch?
Never during our show, no.
No. Well, you see, that's the trick to ratings.
I agree to screen them out. My After Effects out. I mean, there's stuff going on, but just don't notice it.
You take the empty couch and you just kind of put it over there. And you go, here, I'll just motion track this. It'll be fine. No one will notice. Adobe humor. So tell me about Trek Yards, because I want to know. I know about it, but our listeners want to know. What is Trek Yards? What is it about?
Yes, Stuart, what is Trek Yards?
Trek Yards is a web series Star Trek documentary, weekly show. It's the only weekly produced Star Trek show right now, which we're very proud of. And we delve into the ships and tech of Trek. We dissect them. We teach you everything you need to know. We want to be the definitive place to go to learn about these ships.
And what's great about our show is that we have, like I say, weekly episodes, but also we have 4 different shows that cover, the legendary ships, the one-off ships, the Trek tech, and sort of the classic ships, and it's just a huge range. And we go non-canon, canon, one appearance, mega famous. And what's amazing in 2015 is that we have a plethora of all the biggest names in Star Trek ship design. Andrew Probert, Rick Steinbeck, Doug Drexler, Alec Peter Maxner, Tobias Richter. I mean, we can literally keep going. We've got every single Enterprise designer bar Matt Jeffries, and there's a good reason for that. So we've got everyone, and it's incredible because we speak to them regularly in new episodes regularly, and it's just wild ride. And we hope to, like Stuart said, the definitive, iconic place to find all this information from the guys themselves.
Now take me back, because this is what's so interesting to me about these kinds of stories is that at one point you guys are a fan of a show called Star Trek. You're a fan, and I assume that you are a fan of podcasts or web series because you like that, and also probably fans of the ships. But how does it come together to go, you know what I'm going to do? And like we did the same thing. We're like, hey, what would happen if you took a Star Trek and then mixed it and made it dirty and did a dirty, funny Star Trek, sometimes philosophical podcast? What would you do? Like it's so niche and it's such an interesting idea. How did you arrive at the conclusion of this is what we're going to do? Because it's so specific.
Well, Stu, you've been part 1, I'll part 2 this story because we've told it a few times.
Perfect. I have a YouTube channel where I build Star Trek models and all other kinds of models, basically. And I've been building models for years, but it finally hit me. Why don't I, put that on YouTube and start having a YouTube channel? So I did that, and eventually I got this. I call myself Captain Foley, so the Captain Foley persona came about, and it became very Star Trek focused. I show them off my collection and my models.
Way too young, I think, but that's another question.
So my birthday is May 28th, so it's coming up again. But I do something called my away mission vlogs, where when I'm going for my walk in the evening or whatever, I kind of just talk about whatever's on my mind, and mention my birthday. And lo and behold, I get a email from Samuel with a very very cool CGI rendered opening for my show. It said Captain Foley, and you see the original shuttle coming through the name, and you see the TOS Enterprise cruise by and then go off into warp, and that's awesome because I'm a TOS fanboy, and I couldn't believe it. So we finally we started talking back and forth, and he made 1 or 2 more intros for me, and finally we ended up arranging a Skype call, and this whole crazy thing called Trek Yards was born. It's basically Samuel's idea. I got to give him the credit for this. So I'm going to let him carry on from this point.
So I'm a filmmaker by trade and by profession, and I made a Stargate fan film a couple of years ago, and then after the success of that, I wanted to make a Star Trek fan film. So from that, Star Trek Temporal Anomaly, just to plug.
What's the name of it? No, say it slower so we can hear it.
Sorry, British accent. Yeah, Star Trek Temporal Anomaly. It's the only fully multi-era fan film with all the different eras put together.
And if I were, let's say, wanting, not that we're going to promote the Indiegogo and stuff too, but let's say I was, cruising the web and I wanted to find said fan film, where could I find that?
Well, the current trailer is online at Power 540 Fan Film Productions on YouTube, or just search Star Trek Temporal Anomaly and you're there.
Star Trek Temporal Anomaly. Search it. I know what I'm doing as soon as we're done, so go check that out, listeners, and let them know that you love them, because you do. Okay, go on.
Yeah, so I learned from scratch original 3D renders, how to do space animations, because honestly, as a fan, that's something I've always wanted to do, and my god, is it cool. And I thought, well, I saw this random review, because I watched a lot of content while I'm editing, and it was this review of Wrath of Khan. I was like, okay, cool.
I forgot that I did Star Trek movie reviews too, and that's what got him interested. So.
Yeah, and I watched that, and I learned some new stuff. So I watched several, and then I watched his vlog, and as you say, it's his birthday, and I had a couple of spare. I had 7 hours spare, so I built him a 3D render. Just thought, well, I don't know what came over me really. And yeah, we sort of got chatting about a month later, and within about 2 Skype calls, I said to him, "Do you wanna make something more together?" And straight away I said, well, ships. We love ships. I mean, that's something that we're so passionate about. And from that pretty much those 2 chats, we decided let's just do something. And I'm a video editor by profession, and Stuart is as a fact finder by profession. So we sort of go hand in hand, and very quickly, within a month, we had the pilot filmed, showed lots of people, and then started filming and haven't stopped since October 2014, and that's been almost too long. It's weird.
So sell me your show. I'm flipping through a TV guide, whatever the fuck that is, and I come across the synopsis. I always say, give me the TV guide synopsis, the short paragraph. What is Trek Yards?
Well, Trek Yards is, like I said, it's a documentary web series highlighting the ships and tech of Trek.
Yeah. So if you want to know about any of the different ships, we take all the in-depth information, canon, non-canon, game, designer, all the information, so you will learn everything you need to about any ship that we've already done. You know, be it Miranda, Reliant, whatever, all these different ships and the definitive place.
What I found interesting is and I looked at some of it. The way that it works, because it's like you have interviews on there with special guests, and I'm cruising your website right now. But it looks, you have this little thing along the side where when you do the interviews, you can see the images of all of you, and I've not seen it done.
Well, that's what we say. It's not a podcast and it's not an interview show. It's a web show with them and special guests, because we script these things very heavily. You know, everything is prepared, all the research is done, and it's very structured. So we approach the designers, we talk to them about the points, we ask them the questions, we build on that, and we structure a show around that. And then I go ahead and I edit that fully, and I, like you say, alongside every single thing that we mention is shown, be it clips from the movies, clips from the shows, pictures, anything we can find, or original 3D renders by me, because we did a show on the TOS Dreadnought, which is a fantastic 3 nacelle Connie style ship. Well, it is never in any footage, but I made 7 animations for the show, and there you go, you can see it in motion, and that's part of the fun, is to bring these ships to life. And it's fun. We did for one of our Axonal ones, we make a point about phasers. As you'll watch the episode, there's a lot about phasers in that episode. And we mentioned about the different colors of phasers. Maybe they got the blue phasers that the TOS has from Andorians. And I show some clips on the fact that Andorians use blue phasers, and the arguments made. It's all there and there. You can enjoy it and watch along.
How did you? So you're at a point where you guys are like, hey, we're gonna do a show together. And then suddenly, you flash forward in time. We'll have a temporal anomaly, which will make us jump forward in time. And now you've got Doug Drexler and other people on your show. What the fuck? How does that happen? How do you go from I read your movie review. Here's a fun little animation. Oh, by the way, we've just jumped into the future, and now the people who made the fucking Enterprise are on our show. What? How?
Well,
we would also say that back then. We would have that exact response. Yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting story, because we started the Trek Yards Facebook group, which you guys can all go and join. Please check it out.
What are you saying, that people should go to Facebook and look up Trek Yards?
Facebook/Trek Yards.
Facebook.com/Trek Yards. People should probably go to Facebook.com/Trek. Look at me, I'm just shilling for you now.
As well as TrekYards.com, just so you know. But anyway,
so yeah, so at some point someone broke the ice, and you managed to get some of these names.
I'll tell the first part of the story, then you can continue, Stuart. But the funnest day was, I think it was in December, and in one day, I got a personal email from Vic Mignogna. Stuart got a personal email from, I think it was Doug, or was it someone else? We got several comments by Doug Drexler. We got a comment by James Crawley from Phase 2, and we got messaged by Alex Peter from Axonar. So one day we got the 4 biggest names in fan films. Well, the 4 biggest names, and we just let's strike while iron's hot, and we sort of approached people. And Stuart, carry on.
Yeah, well, the Doug Drexler thing was interesting because, like I said, we have the Facebook group, and we share pictures of ships and all that on there, and we have a lot of discussions with the group members. And Doug Drexler was commenting on a few pictures, and I called him Mr. Drexler in one. Like, thank you, Mr. Drexler, And he's like, you can call me Doug. And so I thought, okay, cool. That's kind of an in, So I started messaging him, and sure enough, Doug Drexler is the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. So
he's amazing.
He got back to me right away, and that was kind of the icebreaker.
I love
I
hearing
think,
that. I mean, I love hearing that that is the case because sometimes that's not.
mhm.
And we have had probably 80 to 90% really positive experience with the names that we've been able to meet, and then there's the 10% that really disappoint you. So it's nice to hear that these guys are one that they reached out to you. Two, it sounds like, and this is clear, that they're fans.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're the
These guys love
nicest guys
trucks.
you'd ever want to meet too. And just getting Doug Drexler on board really gave me the courage personally to approach like Rick Sternbach and Andrew Probert and stuff. And they are also super nice guys. And it's just amazing how they want to tell their story, and they love our format.
Yeah, I think it's the quality of the show that sold them, and then it was just the snowball effect of we started announcing names. We started to have, once your friend Doug Drexler says this is a great show, I mean, I think we had Doug filming within 2 weeks, and then within 2 months we had 7 guests, and then we had just the joy of announcing them slowly through the Indiegogo. I mean, and now we have 10 guests, and there's still more we're approaching, so it's incredible.
So I'm gonna jump. I'm gonna jump topics here to something that I'm sure nobody's ever asked you because I am the most original interviewer ever. What's your favorite ship? Oh my God.
Oof.
God, I'm a fucking hack. I'm just a hack. No, seriously. What's your favorite ship? I'm sure no one's ever asked that before. And while you're at it, can you tell me why that I've never noticed until I'm looking in the background here? The space station right by your shoulder, right there. The one you're covering up, yeah, there it is. The one that appears in that appears in the Star Trek films. It looks like a giant dildo.
Yeah.
I mean, it.
Pretty effective one as well.
I never noticed. I mean, look at it. It's got the head right there. It's got
honestly,
a little.
it looks more like a butt plug. It looks more like a butt plug.
I will defer to your expertise. Look at that one over there.
Regular
That's
one. Yeah.
Look, if you look at the Enterprise D, it's kind of like a G spot. It's amazing. The ship just totally changed.
Just iconic art, isn't it?
I will say this: I have now, as much as you've looked at these ships, I've changed your perception of them. Because now what I've made you see, you can never unsee.
Now I'm thinking of the Botany Bay, which is right behind Samuel there. And that's the very definition of a dildo.
Oh my gosh! So
extra battery packs.
Joking aside, what's your favorite? We'll start with Samuel. What's your favorite? Do you have one? Can you have one?
I think overall, if you had to make me pick sort of thing, I'd say the USS Prometheus from Message in a Bottle, the Voyager episode.
Yeah.
It's the sleekest yet so Trek ship.
It's the one that splits into 3, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Multi-vector assault mode. It's just a phenomenal design, and I'd love to fly. I own several models of it. It's incredible. It's in a box though right now, so I can't show it. But yes, it's just such a cool model. It's sort of the epitome of the sleekness and the coolness of Star Trek tech to me. I think just my favorite would be.
And there's a little tiny Andy Dick in there too, if you look.
You got to have Andy Dick. Got to have the dick involved.
Yes, there has to be. No, what you're saying is you like that show because it has a little dick. We are so.
The dick makes me laugh. The dick makes me laugh, so it's good.
How about you?
My favorite would have to be the TOS Enterprise, the original Constitution class.
Cop out.
Or the refit. It's not a cop out. It's my favorite. What can I say?
Why?
Because it's geometrically perfect. It's just the most beautiful looking ship. It's so simple yet so. I don't know. It's just there's something about it that just speaks to me. I've always loved it, and that's one of the reasons I think I got into Star Trek. And when I was younger, like I've said on other interviews before, I was always drawn to the ships. Whenever we went to a convention or whatever, I would pick out the magazine or the shirt with the ships in it. I didn't care about the actors. They're just filler. As far as I'm concerned, the Enterprise is the best actress ever. I love her. And then JJ came along, but that's another story.
Oh, why? No, I want to. No, that's not another story. That's the story I want to hear. Why do we not like the JJ refit, which is it's not that different.
It's proportionally a mess, and it's okay if you're comparing it to actors. Like I said, she's my favorite character, but it's like putting 1980s Cyndi Lauper in the role. It's like, why did you do that? It's so brazen, and I don't know. It's just not right.
It's funny you should say that because I really liked that ship. I liked it, and I don't know if I liked it or I liked how it worked. I don't know if that makes any sense.
You know what's strange? I was also against it in general, and then I'm a regular collector of the Eagle Moss Starship collection, and when I got a physical version, I appreciated it more. I agreed with Stuart that some of the dimensional things are off, but it does look better when you can see it at your own pace rather than just the shots in the films.
It does, and it's got some nice angles. Like directly from the side, it looks amazing. It looks like an amazing ship, but other angles, it just does not look right. And the original Enterprise, you can't say that. Every angle of that ship is just beautiful.
I think that for me, if I can chime in, I got an affinity for the beauty of the Enterprise D, which when I first saw, it looked like a big blob. It's a blob of 80s blobbiness. And yet there are times when it's gorgeous. The most gorgeous representation of the Enterprise D I ever saw is, of all things, in Elementary Dear Data, when Geordi flips around and shows you the profile of the ship drawn, which for some reason that we don't know, he was holding upside down when he was looking at it, so he could flip it over and have it be right side up. But we were talking about that. But that was kind of the first time that I recognized the lines on the ship, and I was like, oh.
It's funny you said that, because that mirrors my exact experience. Because when I saw that, one of the first things I did after watching that episode was went and draw it from the side. I still have the original art I did here somewhere. But yeah, that's one of the. I really was struck by that image. So.
But I mean, here's my problem with Star Trek ships. And I hate to say this, but it felt like they started, and you guys know better than me, and I'm sure that you'll be able to go, no, these ships had way detail that you didn't notice, you fucking Luddite. But the fact is that from my point of view, it seemed like they were starting to phone it in. And it started with Voyager. The first time I saw Voyager, I was like, oh, they just made the Enterprise look a little smaller, and they have little cubey nacelles that go up. It's a gimmick. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't save space from high-speed warp. No other ship ever did it before, ever did it afterward. It was never an issue. And when, in the middle of Season 7, they run into aliens that are like, warp speed's bad for space, they don't even mention, but yeah, but look at our awesome nacelles. They go up. See? Everything's good now. They go into the position that the nacelles always were in the first place. So I started there, and then there was this time in Star Trek where, like, right around First Contact, where all the ships started looking badass. And I was it the Kira class that was the first one that was kind of like it was like, we're Star Trek, fuck you. Like, it was just like and that was a cool looking ship. Mm-hmm. And then every ship looked like it. And Enterprise,
even the NX-01, which is the Akira upside down, basically.
Yeah,
it was like 20 minutes on that. It's not exactly that. I've done renders. Come on, guys.
Well, it's like that upside down, and then you put on the nacelles from the original Starship Enterprise. You go, no, look, it's got the twirly things on the front. See, it's totally old.
Actually, when you put them side by side, there is quite a difference, which I didn't realize until Samuel did that for our episode.
Yeah, I made a point of making that a clear distinction. So watch TrekKillers.com NX-01 episode. Watch that. You'll see that it's not the same. With Doug Drexler, obviously.
My favorite is the Romulan Warbird.
The Derridex
US version?
Which one?
No, the TNG version.
The Derridex, yeah.
It is as mean as the Klingon ships ever looked. It is meaner. It is sleeker. It is more dangerous. You could do those awesome shots through it that they would do where it would like pull up, and it was gorgeous. Anyone who listens to our show knows that I have an affinity for the Romulans because I was a professional Romulan for 3 years. Long story. But that's what I did. That was my job. And our listeners are going, yes, Justin, we know. Stop fucking bringing it up. But I love that ship, and I had a little keychain of that ship because it's a gorgeous, gorgeous design. I honestly don't feel like they ever did better, except for maybe my favorite little turtle, the Defiant. I love the Defiant.
It's a fantastic design, absolutely. It's just
I think
cool.
Everybody loves the Defiant to some degree.
Well, what I like about it is that it was the first time that I felt like they were finally like if you look at the Klingon ships and you look at the Romulan ships and you look at the all the Star Trek ships at this point, it was clear they were going, look, the science is this. You have to have the nacelles there, and they have to be separate, and then they create the warp field and blah blah blah. And the Defiant was just like, no, fuck it. No, you know what? Now we look like this because we're awesome. You want to argue? We will fuck you up. And that's kind of what that's like the design of the Defiant. Now, I'm sure that if you read the technical manual, they'll give you great examples of why you don't need the nacelles to do it. But the fact is that Ron Moore was like, fuck it. No, this is what I want. It's going to be like this now. And I like it. It was innovative in ways that I felt like Star Trek ships sometimes aren't.
It's true. There is a certain design aesthetic to Star Trek ships. Like Doug Drexler said, I mean, it has the nacelles and the primary hull. They're all the same. There's only so many configurations you can put them in. And yeah, it was a neat departure. I really appreciated it.
And yet, it's immediately recognizable as Starfleet. And that's what I love. It's like it's a totally different design, but you could immediately see it and go, that is a Starfleet ship. There's no question about it. It has a saucer section. It has a saucer section within the ship that I love. Anyway, sorry. I keep seeing Samuel about to talk, and he goes, like he's talking. I go, okay, so go for it, please.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about what you say about it not being revolutionary enough. Voyager sort of onwards, it's the same time period. You know, classic to refit to TNG. That was such a time gap that they were revolutionary. And we've spoken to all the people behind those stages, and we know why. Beyond that point, I mean, it's within 10, 15 years. I mean, how much advancement when you're at that stage? And I like the ships we see later on because it's a evolution, and it's a subtle, sleek evolution. And I agree, it's not as revolutionary. But I don't see that many ships, really. Obviously, First Contact, we see quite a few more, but that's done by ILM guys who invented a couple, so that's not necessarily the designers behind the show, which is why it's kind of more radical. But I do see what I mean, but it's yeah. They're still good in their own way. Come on, we love all the ships. Even JJ, Stuart. You know we like JJ ships even in different ways.
I like it a little bit.
There's something about the scimitar, which, if you really think about it, what was the name of the Section 31 ship in Into Darkness?
Vengeance.
The Vengeance. I like the idea of those two ships, and that nobody had ever done it before, and it's the most obvious idea. Just like, you know what? We're just gonna build the biggest fucking ship. It's gonna be gigantic, and just when they list and really, there's a lot of Into Darkness that actually takes from Nemesis. That is interesting. Yep. Of all the things they'd pull from. But just the idea of we're going to have a big, giant, huge ship with more guns than you could ever think of, and fuck you. Like what are you going to do? And it can cloak, and there's nothing you can do.
And can firewall cloaked.
And it just was like again, somebody finally thought up, oh, let's do that. And it's just interesting to me that it took all the shows and all those movies for someone to go, yeah, why don't the Klingons or the Romulans or, you know.
Which is interesting because you say that, and yet Nemesis people don't like as much, and Into Darkness don't like as much. People don't go against the scimitar for some of its obvious features, and some people go against the Vengeance for its obvious features, because those extremes is not what Star Trek's about. The Pterodactyl is an interesting example. That worked at its scale because it was the first new ship we saw, so we couldn't compare it to anything. But there's no reason for the Vengeance to be so large. Scimitar, I think, works, so I'm not going to go against it.
Well, and it works as a concept, and I don't think that anybody is turning on like, I'm sure if you got a top 10 list for Nemesis or Into Darkness problems, the ship would not be listed. Like people, nobody's going to the top of the thing and going, that fucking ship, I hate that ship. That ship's the worst.
Well, that's what Trekoff is for the exclusive ship knowledge and exclusive ship talk.
Which is cool because it's something, you know, it's something that I don't always have an emotional connection to. The only ship that it ever really bothered me when it blew up was the Enterprise D, because that was home for 7 seasons. It was completely unchanged except for the lighting from the show. And they just wrecked it, like on screen in front of you.
They let Deanna drive again. That's what happened.
That's what you do. You let her drive, and she's going to crash the ship into something. Poor Deanna. But I think what's interesting though is that I must be, I don't want to say in the minority, but there must be a very vocal majority who feels the same way we do, because it is treated in Star Trek 3 as big a thing as Spock dying that the Enterprise is destroyed. It is treated with the same amount of gravity. And it's interesting to me. Do you feel the emotional connections to the ships as characters?
I do. And yeah, that Star Trek 3, that hurt me, man. Still does. Still gets to me.
See, the difference between me and Stuart is that Stuart was there from the start, whereas I was there much later on. I sort of lived through Voyager in that era, so everything was already there for me. So there,
Not quite the start. Come on now. I was born in '74. Now give me a little bit of credit. I'm not that old.
Yeah, we're like the same age. Like, stop picking on us, man. I'm gonna get my walker and get over there right there.
I got phase rifles. You can't stop me.
No, I've got the little keychain phasers. I'll be fine.
No, I mean, obviously, I didn't see that. I think at the time that impact was far greater than now. It still resonates, obviously, but knowing it comes back with a little paint today. Yeah, I mean, the ships are characters, especially, like you say, since you live on them for so long. Even the ship they don't see as much, like the Defiant or whatever. I mean, these are iconic pieces of Star Trek history that live beyond sometimes the characters, because you see them on posters. You see DS9. That will always be Deep Space Nine. That summarizes the show. The characters might not in the same way, so it's an interesting. The ships are important, basically.
Well, and I wanted to ask you about that, because you talk a lot about ships. Do you talk about the stations? Do you have a DS9 conversation?
We do indeed. We have Rick Sternbach, who designed Deep Space Nine. Have him talking about the station. We do space stations. We do everything. Our one branch off show is Star Trek Treknology. We showed you how the transporter works in a 2-part episode. How communicators work.
In depth.
In depth. Very in depth. Very in depth.
Well, I remember, like not to get gross, because my show never does this, but my favorite high school and college bathroom reading book was the Star Trek Technical Manual.
The original or the TNG?
The TNG one. The TNG one, the one that everyone had, like the one that that even casual people, they would get that. And I don't know, how old are you, Samuel? Do you mind let us know?
22 almost.
You're 22. So there was a time, let's say back around 90 to 94, where like even the most casual person who wasn't really a fan would have the Star Trek Encyclopedia and maybe the Star Trek Chronology, the History of the Future, the 2 versions that they made of that, and the technical manual. And they were like little coffee table books, and people look at people who like stopped watching Trek when Next Gen ended had that. And I mean, the technical manual was a window into this whole idea of world building that was interesting to me. I want to ask you about DS9. What are some of the insights that you were able to get on? Because that's like when I talk about my favorite thing, I did not include the stations in there. DS9, more than any other place, I had a sense of geography. I kind of knew where the bridge was on the Enterprise D. I could tell you where 10 forward was clearly, and you knew that engineering was in the back section. But DS9, you really could get a sense when you were in a room of where that room was on the station. The way they shot it on the inside, they gave you a real sense of the geography of the station. I loved Deep Space Nine for that, for more than anything else, giving me the sense that I was not on a soundstage. So what, for you, when you did the interview, when you found out about DS9 or through your own personal research, what are some of the interesting things about that, since it's my favorite?
Well, I'd say go watch the episode.
Wow. Thank you.
I don't know, Samuel, can you think of anything right offhand?
Oh, I got one straight away. I think the most interesting thing for me was that one of the original briefs for DS9 was it's kind of an oil refinery in space, and we got a picture of the original foam core mold they made of it to show the producers, and they said no straight away because it's weird. But that was, again, watch the show for the picture, but it's just, that could have been DS9, to see the evolution and to speak to Rick in depth as we do in the episode, because we're breaking down these famous ships. So the entire 20 minutes is just about the original, how did you get to the final design, and to hear how he evolved it. And we have lots of CG renders of the progression, and it really some serious thought went into it, and it's just amazing to see where it came from to where it went. And like you say, it's definitely the most well thought out space station, and we'll look forward to doing more episodes on it.
Yeah, and something else I learned about Deep Space Nine in that episode was that originally it wasn't meant to be any particular race. It was an alien artifact that was found, an alien space station that they could communicate with telepathically and stuff. It was very alien and very out there, but that was kind of, as Doug would say, the monkey brain. The monkey brain can't understand that, so they had to make it more relatable.
Yeah.
And I ultimately think it was a great choice to make it more relatable, because it's the idea of living in the station of the enemy, and the station itself being a representation of the bad things that happened before, and overcoming the station. And I think there's symbolism in there that thematically works. In that we are running out of time a little bit, I'm going to give you guys some time to talk about your Indiegogo. Why are you doing Indiegogo, and what can I, as a contributor, get if I go to your Indiegogo? What is that all about?
I can start this one off. Well, we've been going since October, 30 shows as of this Saturday, which is amazing, and like I say, about 10 designers, the people who made the ships, and we want to bring out every single week on the dot, guaranteed, like the most regular content you can find in terms of Trek video. But they keep getting more complicated. They keep taking long to render and edit and things, and just it's all our own personal time. But what can really speed up personal time is computer hardware, because if you can get a higher end PC, you can cut all of the times down in half, and that time you can put into another episode. So this Indiegogo is literally just to cover the cost that we've always spent on microphones and on the video, which we've bought ourselves, and to buy this new PC, which will cut everything in half and just mean that we can not only make more but higher quality in the time we have. And cool things you can get. Well, we have these designers, and we as fans, because at the end of the day we're fans, we want to bring a bit more communication between these iconic names and the fans. So if you donate $30, you can join the exclusive Facebook group, which is sort of nicking Axnar's idea, but we love Alex, so it's fine, and Alex loves us, so it's fine. So you get part of an exclusive donor group, and we do monthly Q&As with the designers. So if you want to have a question asked, if you want to ask a question to Rick Sternbeck or whoever, then we'll collect those questions, get them to answer them on video, and you'll have a shout out video just for you, your question answered in full detail, and that's an incredible thing to have. But obviously you can get digital posters, and you can pick a show, and you can be on a show, and you can be an executive producer, all sort of standard stuff. We try to stay away from physical stuff this time, just because the money has to go towards the kit. We can't spend the money on perks, because this is our first step towards improving the show. We're not there yet. We're at 45%, so a bit to go with 7 days. But we're hoping, last few days tends to be a bit of a jump. But I mean, anything anyone can give will physically go into our kit, which we need to keep it going through this year, next year, whatever.
Yeah, and like I'd like to point out too, like Doug Drexler said in our Indiegogo video, we've been making content from the beginning. It's not like we're on Indiegogo saying, give us money, we promise all these grand things. Like, we've been giving you quality content every week. Like, we're on episode 30 now. And we just want to make that easier for us to do. So that's why we're asking the fans for a little bit of help. And I think, like Doug said, we are producing quality show that people are enjoying, and we have the proof it's out there, and it's not just promises.
So what you're saying is you're not like those assholes who say we're going to make a movie and they raise a bunch of money and then they take 2 years to cut it together because they're really busy.
Yeah, hey, that's my film as well. Oi.
Hey.
Double bad shout out.
Us too, man. No, we're working on it, Trekoff listeners.
So am I. So are we.
Trekoff the motion picture is happening. I promise. I worked 15 hours on it last weekend. It's not left my mind. This is what I want to say about two things about what you guys have told me. One, for those of you who've never edited a video, let me just get you paint a picture in your head. You work for hours on something. You think you have it right, and there's something called a preview window where it plays perfectly for you on a little screen. You're like, oh, it's great. And then you have to do something called a rendering. And what you do when you do that is you take your little tiny picture and you're trying to make it HD quality, like you'd watch on a TV, because that's what you want it to be. And so you set it, and because your computer isn't very good, because you got a computer that was state of the art like 4 years ago, you set it, and then you go to sleep, because that's what you have to do as your computer renders. And then you wake up in the morning, and Windows decided to update.
Yes.
On like hour 10 and 20 minutes. And you wake up, and there's nothing you can do. And a day is fucking gone because you can't both work and render at the same time.
And you got released in 3 hours.
And days disappear from your life. I can tell you from personal experience making the Ninjas movies that this is real. This really happens. We were late delivering Ninjas versus Vampires for this reason. So I can tell you from what they need point of view that is very real. The other thing I want to tell you is this is, as much as we've had other things on and we've had a bunch of people with their Indiegogos come on, I think the cool thing about this is very rarely does someone basically pimp out, look, give us $30 and you have a gateway to the people who made the show. You can talk to the people who made Star Trek for $30. You can go get Starbucks breakfast for you and a couple friends tomorrow morning once. And you know what? 10 hours later, it's poo. It's poo. It's no different than eating your Captain Crunch. It's poo either way. But you can spend that $30 instead. You can eat your Captain Crunch, and then just go and give the $30. Don't even give it to these guys. Maybe you hate these guys. Maybe you don't care about ships. But goodness gracious, you can talk to people who make Star Trek for real and Q&A with them and say, hey, why? I would love to go on and be able to go, hey, why the Defiant? Tell me about the Defiant. I have a Defiant Christmas ornament. Tell me about making that. And you have a gateway to these folks. And I don't like that is a perk that I've never heard of before. It's unusual. These are nice guys, and this is a worthy cause. Not only because they, like us, are making Trek content for you for free, but that the perks are unusual, and it's not just like a DVD or a T-shirt. This is something that gives you a window into the world. So help them out. Go to trekyards.com and facebook.com/trekyards. And even if you're like, hey, I can't give, I don't have any money, or I want my fucking Starbucks breakfast in the morning, that's fine, man. Post them on your feed and let your friends know about them. Or, if push comes to shove and you're listening to this after the Indiegogo ends, look, you can't give to them anymore, but what you can do is you can go on Facebook and like them and watch their shows. If they don't want you, if you can't give them money, give them your fandom because they're worth it. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's Stuart and Samuel from Trek Yards. Thank you so much for coming on Trekoff.
Thanks for having us.
Alexia has a sign-off that she says for every show, and we're going to give you guys the opportunity to say it. She ends every show saying, Trek off, bitches. So it's your turn. Go ahead.
Trekoff, bitches.
Trekoff, bitches.
And that will make us clear.